Hi everyone, welcome to my channel. I'm Jordan and today I am sharing 5 things that nobody told me about labor and delivery. At the time that I'm filming this, I have had exactly 1 baby and I have another one on the way. By the time you're watching this, he'll probably be born, but I am pre-filming some videos. So I've only had 1. I wanted to make this video while the first birth is kind of fresh in my mind and to share the things that I learned through that, and then I can also make a part 2 to this video, a follow-up after my second baby, assuming that labor and delivery goes a little bit different and I learned some brand new things. And for some context, my first labor and delivery, I was induced at 5 days after my due date. I did have an epidural and I ended up having my baby about 12 hours after being induced, and I had her vaginally. So that's my context. This is obviously my own experience, my own things that I learned through my birth that I just wanted to share. I am in no way saying that this is the case for all births, and especially for all the different types of ways that women can give birth. But at the end of the day, I think it's probably helpful just to share these things that I learned so that you can at least be aware of them going into your own labor and delivery, even if they end up being slightly different. So getting right into it, number 1 is how hungry I would be. Throughout the entire labor and delivery process, I am telling the truth when I say that this was the hardest part for me. Like I mentioned, I was induced, so I went in to the doctor at 7 a.m. Right before that, I had a nice big breakfast. But when you go into labor, they don't let you eat. At least that's the case with my hospital. I assume that that's the case with all or most hospitals. I was allowed to drink water or eat like ice chips. I believe the reason they don't let you eat is because in the event of a C-section, they would rather have you be an empty stomach. I'm not exactly sure, but going in at 7 a.m. and then not eating again until after my birth, which was at 6:30 p.m. I was hungry, and honestly, it made it really hard to push. I felt weak. You push for 10 seconds at a time, and I just felt like I couldn't get to the end of the 10 seconds because I felt like I had no energy. I was so weak. And that was only after 12 hours, and that was with an epidural. So I can't even imagine women who have longer labors than that, who are going, 24, 48 hours without eating. That's ridiculous. And there's really, unfortunately, nothing you can really do about that. But I would just say that if you are being induced or if you go into labor on your own, to make sure to eat something before you go to the hospital. Eat as much as you possibly can to try to get something that'll hold you through the entire labor, because it's not fun being hungry. It's probably inevitable, but it's not fun. And I can't believe that no one told me that that was gonna be such an issue before I went into labor. The second thing nobody told me is how many people come in and out of your hospital room after you deliver. Now, in this, I'm not considering even guests or people that I asked to come in the room. I mean, doctors and nurses obviously coming every so often to check on me as the birth mother as well as the baby, and then like assistant doctors and student doctors and people taking surveys and a newborn photographer and a lactation specialist, and all these people that I had no idea were coming and who honestly made it really hard to relax after having a baby. I mean, having a newborn, you don't get a lot of time to relax anyway, obviously, because you're spending most of your time feeding them, changing them, getting to know them, recovering, obviously. And so any downtime we had when I was able to sleep and when the baby was sleeping, it was like we would be interrupted by another person coming in the room asking if they could do a service for us or ask us some questions or check up on us or whatever. That got very exhausting and very draining. And we knew that they were there for good reason and for a purpose, and we appreciated, their help or their services or whatnot, but it kind of made it hard to just focus on, being brand new parents when we were dealing with all of these people coming in and out of the room. And there were times when I was sleeping and the baby was sleeping, when my husband kind of had to put his foot down when someone would try to come in the room and say, they're sleeping, you have to come back later, and just kind of be blunt, because it was our time and our space, and it was just a lot of interruptions. Now, I'm sure that this has changed with COVID precautions in place, but now that things are getting back to normal, I'm sure that'll also get back to normal, and I'm interested to see how it's different again with baby number 2 coming really soon. And so I guess my advice there would be to not be afraid to put your foot down and say no when visitors or when hospital staff or whoever it is try to come in your room. If it's not something you're interested in, or if it's not something you have time for right at that moment, feel free to ask them if they can come back later at a time that's more convenient for you guys as you are in the middle of recovery. The third thing that nobody told me is that you have to basically ask for your own medications. Again, at least this was the case for me. I had to constantly monitor, my own pain level and be sure to express that to my nurses and ask them to continue administering, painkillers for me or whatever it was. This one makes sense and is for good reason. Obviously, they don't want nurses just pushing out medications, but if I was on, you know, Tylenol and ibuprofen rotations, they would write it on the board like I would be due for a Tylenol in 4 hours. But once that time came, I had to be the one to say, you know, can I get some more Tylenol? Or I'm feeling some pain, can I get something else to help manage the pain? Things like that. I guess I kind of just expected for them to have a routine or a standard of what kind of painkillers they typically give out and at what cadence, but it does make sense that every single person, every single labor is different, and so the medication needs afterwards are also different. It was just something I had to pick up on and kind of quickly learn to monitor my own pain level and be able to express that to the nurses. So my piece of advice with that one is to make sure you're monitoring your own pain level, and if you need more pain medication, to express that, even if it feels kind of awkward or like you're not sure if they're gonna say yes. They don't know how you're feeling unless you tell them. Number 4 thing that no one told me, or maybe people told me, I just didn't listen, is how much breastfeeding hurts. And it was a different kind of pain than I was expecting. I took a breastfeeding class before going into labor the first time, and I'd watched several videos about, you know, how to get your baby to latch. And even though I had a great baby who latched great, and I think I was doing everything right, it still hurt. That's still kind of a weird thing, a weird sensation happening to your body that's never happened before. So it was a lot of just pain that I wasn't expecting. And even switching side to side didn't really ease it much to me. And I know they say it's like the first 2 weeks or 4 weeks or something that are the worst, and then it does get better. And I'm sure that's true. But after getting out of the hospital, I only lasted 10 days actually breastfeeding, and then I moved to exclusively pumping. So this time around, I'm not exactly sure what I'm gonna do. I might try breastfeeding again, but it was a lot more painful than I was expecting. And I was using all of the creams and things like that. And again, my baby did latch correctly. If you are someone who's pretty dead set on breastfeeding, that's amazing. You can definitely do it. Obviously, there are so many women who do it, but just be prepared for a little pain. And then number 5, the last thing that nobody told me is that you can ask the nurses for help with anything. Not only are they there to make sure that you're healthy, that baby's healthy, that everything is going right, they're also there just to help make you comfortable and to help ease you into parenthood. Our first night with our baby was a little rough. She was a little fussy, and she basically constantly wanted to be fed, and anytime we would lay her down, she would get upset, and we were pretty sure she wasn't still hungry. She didn't need to be changed. She didn't really need anything. She just was not content. And we had a nurse that first night offer to take her out of the room for us and to help, you know, soothe her and hold her so that it wouldn't fall on just me and my husband. And we were really reluctant to ask for that help because we felt guilty. You know, we're new parents. We felt like it's our responsibility to care for this baby. And even though we were just learning, I was still recovering. It didn't really occur to us that the nurses are there to help us through everything. So they're also there to help make sure that you get enough sleep that you need to recover. And a lot of the nurses obviously are on this floor and go into this profession because they like babies. And so this nurse, for us, after, you know, many hours of us refusing and just nobody getting any sleep, she kind of forced us to let her take the baby out of the room for a few hours and let us get some sleep. And that was amazing. Kind of life-changing to get a few, you know, hours of interrupted sleep after a full day of labor and then enjoying our baby for a few hours and then getting into the nighttime and being like, what the heck do we do now? It was very nice to be able to trust that our baby was in good hands with a nurse who does this every single day. It honestly probably helped because obviously as new parents, we didn't know exactly what we were doing, and I'm sure our baby could kind of sense that and felt a little helpless herself. And so being able to give her to a nurse who is confident and who does this and who knows what the baby needs, I'm sure that calmed the baby down a little bit too. So it was a win-win situation. And so I just want to put that out there to not feel guilty asking the nurses for help, whether that's for help changing their diaper or getting you water or helping you make sure that you're feeding right, or literally just holding the baby for a few hours so that you can sleep. That is what they're there for. Once you go home, you don't have that luxury. And so definitely take advantage of it. Try not to feel guilty. You are still a good parent and you will still learn all of the ropes. You will learn how to take care of your baby, but those first few days are kind of traumatic for everyone. So that's all that I have. Those are my 5 things that nobody told me and that I learned for the first time going into labor and delivery. Very excited and anxious to do this again and to probably learn some brand new things. Please let me know if any of these experiences resonate with you. If you experience the same thing or if you experience something different, I'd love to know and learn from you as well. Obviously, the more that moms are willing to talk and share with each other, the more we can all learn, and the more we can go into labor and delivery, you know, not having these things be things we've never been told before. But other than that, I don't have anything else. So thank you so much for watching this video, and I will see you in my next one.